En 1984, Charles Alexander a fondé la maison d'édition Chax Press, qui publie à la fois des ouvrages d'art et des livres de poésie. Charles Alexander mène aussi des activités d'enseignement, que ce soit au Centre d'études poétiques de l'Université d'Arizona, à Pima Community College ou bien à l'Université de Broqua. Il a été directeur du Minnesota Center for Book Arts, de la maison d'édition Black Mesa et du festival de poésie de Tucson. Il vit à Tucson, Arizona, avec sa femme, la peintre Cynthia Miller. Merci.
I'm going to read in English. For the last several days, Vincent has been translating several of my poems, and he has not translated everything I'm going to read. So I think the way this is going to work, when I read something that I know he's translated, I will turn the microphone over to him and he will follow with that. Is that?
Yep.
All right, okay. For the most part, I'm reading work either from my newest book called Certain Slants, or work from a series that began in that book called Pushing Water, which continues. And I'll start with one from the book Pushing Water 7.
Il y a besoin d'une traduction pour l'introduction ou tout le monde a compris?
Pushing Water 7 began with thinking of the English word mercy and the French word merci. C likes from forgiveness. A plum in a pocket waiting for moon to speak in eclipse, as this night the comet attracting human attention. Eye set on point until focus collapses, a blue ring around, fencing sense in or entrance out. It couldn't happen on a finer night. Visiting from Washington, visiting from San Diego, visiting from Saskatoon. This is a place about visiting, about which visiting forms a concept in part because of the night sky and a level of attention which perhaps requires being away from, a kind of paying attention when the rose springs a rose and lack of silence replaces lack. I forget myself here, as we say, longing. Stem, torso, mind, clarinet. Asters in the morning on a silver tray or made to look like rain. Aspirate a spiral sound, asking if sound has shape. Only 4 or 5 basic choices hold the mind when playing a concerto in the summer of 1975. Did she know each note or only approach them in groups as they advanced? No militarism in the sense of cannons forming, only a margin from which a strategy emerges, not in response or opposition, but on the side like potatoes or melons. Glass, around, at, bread. And which book to choose? One takes a gray and one a blue and red, two a yellow ochre, and there is no green. 10. Ask. Often askance. Germain, enabled. Beside, along, otherwise dimensionless, as if grazing on wheat, walking there as golden winds matter a memory, weather confronting emergence. Witness this. The issue twists to take us out of nature, become watchers in the Midwestern conception of time as a waiting place, in the case of a true story. Onion, leap. This was derived from 6 sentences. I came here tonight to interrupt sleep and watch you, hands at attention, erect. Put something in my pocket. Flowers and food categorize the light. She bought books, but not the gray one. One summer she was invited to play a concerto. I was having trouble with the title. Innocence, better. Strum formed a boundary as if sound could turn one's head physically in another direction or so. A small dog could as well, knowing one, chewing a phone cord and a garden hose, things concerned with flow, course of affection. Which? Believe. On this one, there is a translation for this next one. Pushing Water 14. One sister says to the other, "My handwriting isn't better than yours, just more readable." And later, reporting what she said to a boy 11 years old, "I can kick just as well in a dress as in pants." "Thank you for the book," I said, "and your place in it somewhere, near the salt and pepper and the act of diving into water." He came back to the surface and breathed. "I always bring water to the table and place it before you. The whole of the work is, the sound of the work is the structure of breaks to the surface, breathes." The dream. I walk into one sister's room to offer counsel. When leaving, I see the other in a corner by the door with a baseball bat. She swings the bat with all her strength across my shins. I wake, screaming, crying. As Williams said, the best thing a man can do for his son after he is born is to die. And what about a daughter? Does she thrive from death, push herself into the water without checking for cold, come out of the corner swinging? Where are the knots one must untie?
Poucelot, 14. Une sœur dit à l'autre, « Mon écriture n'est pas meilleure que la tienne, seulement plus lisible. » Et plus tard, rapportant ce qu'elle a dit à un garçon de 11 ans, « Je peux shooter tout aussi bien en robe qu'en pantalon. » « Merci pour le livre, ai-je dit, et pour ta place dans celui-ci, quelque part près du sel et du poivre, et l'action de plonger dans l'eau. » Il remonta à la surface et reprit sa respiration. « Je mets toujours l'eau sur la table et la place devant toi. La totalité de l'œuvre est, le son de l'œuvre est la structure de pointe à la surface. Respire. Le rêve. J'entre dans la chambre d'une sœur pour donner conseil. À mon départ, je vois l'autre dans un coin près de la porte tenant une batte de baseball. Elle frappe de toutes ses forces sur mes tibias. Je me réveille, crie, pleure. Comme le disait Williams, la meilleure chose qu'un homme puisse faire pour son fils après sa naissance est de mourir. Et qu'en est-il pour une fille? Est-ce qu'elle prospère avec la mort, se force à entrer dans l'eau sans vérifier si elle est froide et revient de l'angle, prête à frapper? Où sont les nœuds à dénouer?
In the last 2/3 of this book, weaving in and around those pushing water poems, are a group of shorter poems called Cardinal because they were written on cards. And there's several of those we're going to read too. Cardinal 8. Sometimes taking the words from books laid out on a green table with a blue edge in a room with 30 chairs, a fiberglass deer, which now looks this way, and visible from this chair 5 paintings of children. There the light forms an opening, birds and wings go through on their way. The books sent from places of order, imagined tables. Someone wrote a letter, and it was never received. So how can we know the alphabet?
Cardinal 8. Parfois prendre les mots des livres dispersés sur une table verte entourée d'un bord bleu, dans une chambre avec 30 chaises, un cerf en fibre de verre, qui désormais regarde par ici, et visible de cette chaise 5 scènes d'enfants. La lumière, là, forme une ouverture où oiseaux et ailes passent en chemin. les livres expédiés depuis les endroits du rangement, des tables imaginées, quelqu'un écrivit une lettre qui n'est jamais arrivée. Comment alors pourrait-on connaître l'alphabet?
And one we had not planned to do this last week, but when my friend Jean-Jacques started reading it aloud, we figured we had to add it to the festivities. And it was written in response to a poet telling me I had too much green in my poems. Cardinal 16. Green, green, green. Going gray. Green, green, green. Gone. Gift. Green. There. Said. Points going everywhere. Graphing the world. This enters that point of order. Light.
Cardinal 16. Vert, 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 va, vers le gris, vert, 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 verser, vente, vert, ici, prononcé. Points vont partout, trace le monde. Ceci pénètre, ce point d'ordonnancement, lumière.
Cardinal 17. As cost to counter, what eye casts and asks hand to go. Chart patterns of 3 and 2, either trace or make holes and thread plots, place for language to lead or follow. Go from there to anywhere forms translation, meet at the corners where any sound knows its edge again.
Cardinal 17. Ce que le cou est au jeton, ce que l'œil pose et invite la main à partir, dessine des formes de 3 et 2, trace ou fait, des trous et des fils d'intrigue, endroits nécessaires au langage pour guider ou suivre, par-delà, vers n'importe où, constitue la traduction. Rendez-vous à l'angle où chaque son connaît sa limite à nouveau.
Back to pushing water. 30. What? 2? Watteau. Blue sky, green bowl, somewhere after the fact of language, a field, a fold, fluency or flow. To talk, relying on the necessity of a listener. Would it be heard in a forest? Alone, green, above, blue, erased. A cluster, accuser, accursed black spot. Ink or metaphor. Strange turning man, the enormous tragedy of the dream emerging from a sheet of water. A wafer. To live. To sustain talk over 30 years, thirsty, 135 days with no measurable precipitation, the javelina scavenge behind the house, coyote near the schoolyard, no water to push, no wet pores, vapors, what pores, Watteau. He came costumed as if in a painting. Where is the substance, perhaps gone? Call me poet, call me near, dip me in the water, not Watteau, or what to, or what gives, or what if, water, relentless and to make water, to make relentless be let go, water, to make push be allow, to make love be forgive, to make language be anything but silence, and silence too. We in the ocean unplug our ears in the middle of the enormous tragedy. Weave in the dream, applaud our fears, inevitable, until our most ragged selves answer the question. It's time again. Green renewal springs or minor repairs to the engine. Let us jump the hedgerows, hardly hedgerows. Let us be water.
Poucello 30. Y va-t-on, va-t-on, ciel bleu, bol vert, quelque part après le fait de langue, un pré, un pli, fluidité ou flux, parler en s'appuyant sur la nécessité d'un auditeur. Est-ce que ce serait entendu dans une forêt, seul, vert, dessus, bleu, effacé, une grappe, agresseur, aggravé, point noir, encre ou métaphore. Homme étrange se retourne, l'immense tragédie du rêve émerge d'une nappe d'eau, gaufre, vivre. Tenir la conversation pendant 30 ans, assoiffé, 135 jours sans précipitation quantifiable. Les pécaris s'acharnent derrière la maison, coyotent vers le préau. Pas d'eau à pousser, pas de port humide, vapeur, verse l'eau, va-t-on. Il arrive costumé comme dans un tableau. Où est la substance, peut-être évanouie? Dis-moi, poète, dis-moi de m'approcher, plonge-moi vite dans l'eau, ni va-t-on, ni va-t-on, ou va-tout, où va-t-on? Eau, implacable, et faire de l'eau. Implacable, laisse couler l'eau. Faire de percer permettre, faire l'amour être pardonné, faire le langage être tout sauf silencieux, et le silence aussi. Nous, dans le fleuve, ouvrons les oreilles au beau milieu de l'immense tragédie, tissons dans le rêve, applaudissons à nos peurs inévitables, jusqu'à ce que nos êtres les plus délités répondent. C'est l'heure à nouveau, ressort vert du renouvellement ou réparation minime au moteur. Sautons par-dessus les haies, à peine des haies, faisons-nous haut.
Pushing Water 37 is a little bit longer than the other sections. Actually, it's a whole lot longer, but I'm not reading all of it, so that would be 24 pages and far too long. And it is for Robert Creeley and Ray Armantrout and the Inconvenient Truths, which sounds like it should be a rock and roll band, and maybe somewhere it is. All the way is where you are, cup holding tea or two for articulate wanderings in the woods we left, when carbon emissions transform the relationship of light to water. Sun today wills its way down and never back up, or not enough to make the difference between polar ice cap and hip-hop in the streets that could become rivers in my daughter's life. Times like this call for a stiff upper drink drawn to the lips, beginning on the overhang of time lost. A cookie can't control, but that's the way it crumbles, says the earth to the white bear, down, bare all, barely a blip on the radar screen, because we can't see what does not fit our view, our convenient lens that lets in television, shuts out desire, as when we were in bed this morning, touching but not together, not joined at the hip to be square, fault line, which is not my fault, oh, yes it is, this Sunday in the warm sunshine, actually pink, not orange. The girl in the kitchen said of the frosting, and that's the only one you can taste, so open wide, everything is coming in, going down, blowing up, withering away, so we hold our arms up and sing a song to the air of last breathing. What else can we do? The poem has not been written yet, but the earth is still all that is the case. Where are you, my friend? Can I insert a sentimental nod to friendship here when no one sees anyone through the screens of our digits, where the assertion that 1 does not equal 0 becomes an entire school against quietude and official verses, in favor of strangeness in the land where everything is stranger than we believed possible, and we are still engaged to and with that word, the one that has us bare at the elbows, digging in the place of the gold machine, in the garden, in the inferno about which we essay entry and burn the ice clear out of existence in an instant of time on the geological scale, one of the scales that matters, when the poem cannot end because it's never been clear what it means to rest in its own unfolding, and so it unfolds, or perhaps folds like a field of vibrations or egg whites in a waffle recipe. But sameness is a possibility in those two instances, just as confusion is allowed between a phrase and a pasted paper containing a single word, witness, on a book's cover in red on gray on green with black and red on the spine and black and yellow and tan and beige inside where the work moves. If something is closed, can it open minds, or are we lost in an alphabet we can't remember and equally can't forget? Because of childhood songs and Dr. Seuss, yes, we are really silly beings, and that may be the best of us on a Tuesday or any of the other 6 days. We so conveniently divide our acts among the apostles and the temptations and the arcs of light our own children claim in random acts. I love the public domain. A man reads a story while walking on a bridge that connects, that only connects. What can we do about it? Shall we, or why not consume the entire marketplace of loose ends, space and juice and stars and some human tissue? Now you see it, now you don't want to look out the window or down the drain. If life intervenes, what will you answer? I was here, I came, I saw, I didn't speak to very many people, but found a few I wanted to spend a life with before discovering that life had run out, time had gone down that drain. So I dived into the hole, and this is the report being made of discoveries while under the gun, so to metaphorically speak. At least it's one way we have in the interim tale of mistaken identities and missing sisters, wandering without purpose, leading to marriage. If she were here now, what would she think? All the world really is a stage, but no one is on it, or everyone is, and that's the same thing if everyone, everything is another name for nothing but the kitchen sink afloat in the ocean where all genders blend into each other and trans equals transform, and an answer for the first time seems possible to the question of who has to die today in order to begin to live. Good night, mother, good night, moon, or rise from off me in an arc of freedom where light is the absence of weight, and we all can float in the balance of the light that loves or is loved more than anything else by all women and men, whoever or wherever they may be, which is why we invented or stole fire, contains all the shapes that can be seen and even those that can only be known inside the dwelling in light, but in between the bumps and grinds and saws that take pieces of flesh and avalanche steals the life away, steal away from life in a panic where the ground has no spring to lift the air, and the air has no long, lingering looks of love to take with us into the night. We wear only skin, or maybe turn that inside out and wear blood everywhere in the rush, in the war, in the terrible gnashing that rings in the new year, rings out the water. Ruined and bare, the burnt forest sings in the middle of a slight depression, a lowered elevation. To be specific, a crater. Create her. Create or. Bowl of light. Angle of vision. Certain slant on a summer night, the beginning. We bring water in, ourselves made of light, water, and miles of skin, standing under the desert base with a vision from a bowl, a sphere, as here, half drowned to the ordinary dimensions of space and time. Each note, the music has a past and it has a potential. Here, there were things under things, as well as things inside things. No, I am not lonely. When we were speaking, where we are speaking, as we speak. The horizon is a coastline, and the sky, the sea, never evening. The light is not strange, it is constant. If the scar appears, I cannot see it. Under the light of the earth, another dream, speech. Nothing is subtracted, dispersed, is not lost. And there were about 3 lines in that were taken from H.D.'s tribute to Freud. Pushing Water 39 has the subtitle Border, and I live about 60 miles from the U.S. and Mexico border. Indicate a line forward. A poet once divided the word inarticulate to become, in art I see you, late. Does the late link art to death, to dying, or having died? That is wrong from the start. To articulate is to live, to gain being, and the simple in preceding it negates living. It is non-being. And I understand the world is everything that is the case, to be true, and to leave nothing to be said. But then the music, the water, the line forward. Do you cross the line? Do you know when you cross the line? To be on either side of the border is to be articulate. To be within the line of the border is to be inarticulate. Have we lost the story? And Pushing Water 40. Now I misread all the time. In the last half hour, I have misread pliable as palpable, misread resemble as remember. Could I misread apple as corn or baseball as God? Should I misread gender as element, floor as wave, Paris as Pacific, or time as polka dot, or bubble as the blank space between I and I? My memories are pliable, my dreams are palpable. If there is a writing on the wall, it is the world at once responding to the complexity of its name, to the apple of its God, to the baseball of its gender, to the wave of its bubble, to the Paris of its element, to the Pacific of its time, directly to the eye, directly to the other eye. Fool, space is never blank.
Poucelot, 40. Désormais, je fais constamment des erreurs de lecture. Pendant la dernière heure, j'ai lu malléable au lieu de palpable, lu même au lieu de mémoire. Est-il possible que je lise pomme au lieu de maïs ou baseball au lieu de Dieu? Devrais-je lire genre au lieu de élément, sol au lieu de vague, Paris pour Pacifique ou temps pour poids ou bulle pour l'espace vide entre œil et œil? Mes souvenirs sont malléables, mes rêves sont palpables. Si c'est écrit, c'est la réaction immédiate du monde à la complexité de son nom, à la pomme de son Dieu, au baseball de son genre, à la vague de sa bulle, au Paris de son élément, au Pacifique de son temps, directement à l'œil, directement à l'autre œil. Imbécile, l'espace n'est jamais vide.
Thank you.